Okay, everybody, we will start streaming soon, like in 2 3 minutes. We're already here. The way you see the welcome screen because we want to wait for everybody. So why don't we give our guests a little bit more time, another 2 3 minutes, so they can sit down comfortably, join us, and listen to the great conversation with Ben. I will switch the screen in couple minutes, so we will be online with Ben. Now you see what we are going to talk about. So first we are going to talk, of course, about auto industry. Since my guest is a wonderful person, he has extensive experience in the auto industry. He works with e-commerce, redesigning customer experience, working on customer journey on the Ford Motor Company side as well as on the dealership side. So there's a lot of knowledge which are going to um, get today. But also, I would like to talk to Ben about the artificial intelligence, COVID-19, and everything what we experience. Since he has such a great experience, he is absolutely a perfect person to give us a comment about that. So in 1 to 3 minutes, I will switch the screen. We'll be live with Ben talking about that. So stay with us, and we will come back in a minute.
I'm losing your chat. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Now, there you go. Good.
Perfect. Yes.
You scared me for a sec there.
Yeah. So, Ben, please introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, what you've done so far, and where are you now. So, everybody can get a feeling such a great person you are, and thank you for being with us. Go ahead.
Well, Arik, thank you very much for having me on your show. This is such a pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your awesome audience. Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Okuka, and I work for a Ford subsidiary called Ford Motor Company, which is a joint venture that focuses on servicing and helping our dealer body sell more cars. So we provide them digital technologies to help them, sell cars. And at the same time, we also support Ford in certain parts of their digital marketing activities. So I lead a team of product managers at Ford Direct that lead the planning, the roadmaps, execution of Ford.com, Lincoln.com, and several other Ford digital properties here in the United States.
Yes, and you are based in Detroit, right?
Correct. I'm based in Metro Detroit, Dearborn, Michigan, just about maybe half a mile or so from Ford headquarters.
Really, that's legends. That's where all this, famous CEOs walk in and manage those companies. Well, that's where the Mustang is and everything like that. So that's great to have you here.
It's the home of the auto industry, right? Ford,
Exactly.
GM, Chrysler. This is where it all began. So yeah, great city.
Exactly, exactly. But I'm speaking about a little bit to the audience now, guys. If you stay with us, what you're going to learn is also, as Ben mentioned, he managed product managers, and that's something particularly interesting because I'm going to talk about with Ben about what is important in the product management world today, how to grow as a product managers. A lot of the people that are listening to this and other shows are product managers, and these people are interested in growing, staying competitive, learning new skills. So this is something we're going to cover today. Ben, first question I would love to ask you, and this is an amazing opportunity, and it's a privilege to ask you this question is, tell us about what's happening with auto industry. Specifically, I would love to cover what happened now, which is COVID, of course, but also personalization. I know you have a massive experience with that, but also customer journey. What is changing? What is coming on? What is new right now going on?
Well, there's a lot going on in the automotive industry. So I focus primarily on the marketing and the digital experience customers have. But in general, right, the automotive industry is going through a lot of change. In the past, probably till early this decade, we had the traditional automotive OEMs, right? Ford, GM,
Yes.
Chrysler, Toyota, BMW, etc. And they've always sold cars the same way they have for the last 100 years or so, especially if you're talking about Ford and GM, right? And so the way it works, at least here in North America, is these OEMs actually don't sell cars directly to consumers, right? They
Correct.
sell it to their franchise dealer bodies, and the dealer bodies then, market and sell directly to the consumers. So if any of you have gone shopping, you have a very good sense of the experience that you get at the dealership. Fast forward to earlier this decade, or at least when Tesla came to the scene, Tesla decided to, jumpstart or bypass this
Yes.
traditional business model and go directly to consumers. This has caused a lot of consternation in the industry. I understand that really well, but it's not my field of expertise. But I can tell you the customers of Tesla had a very positive experience, at least in how you actually purchase the vehicle up front.
Okay.
The making of the decision, interacting with Tesla was a really pleasant experience. So from a shopping perspective, that kind of put a new wrinkle in the traditional business model. Fast forward a few years on, you had third-party companies that wanted to improve the customer experience, right? So you find your nice F-150, your nice Mustang, and you fall in love with this thing, you're ready to go buy it, but you get to the dealership, you're spending, if you're really good and you got all your paperwork together, maybe 2 hours, right? If it's really good. But if you have, your credit's not up to score, you have missing paperwork, you're going to be spending anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, even 7 to 8 hours. And by the time you walk out of the dealership, you are just drained. And the fun of picking up the brand new vehicle is totally lost, right? So a number of third-party entrepreneurs looked at this and said, we need to solve this problem. We've got to make the experience of buying a car better. So you have many companies that have come up in the last decade or so, right? Starting with TrueCar about, early 2010, right? We'll show you the exact price that you should pay and you shouldn't pay any more. And then fast forward, you've got companies like Roadster and Autofy, and there's a handful and dozens more that have basically said, we're going to solve this. And then fast forward over the last 4 or 5 years, Carvana has come to the scene. I don't know, especially for your North American market,
yes,
you hear about this vending machines that you can go online and just buy a car, and you get your car delivered to you, in a really cool fashion. And so it hasn't really landed for us here in Metro Detroit, but cities like Atlanta and Phoenix and some of these big metro areas have these, and people go actually take a look at this. So all this activity has put a lot of pressure on dealers and the OEMs to really improve the customer experience, right?
Right.
You want to make sure that you have a great product to sell, right? Think about an F-150, think about a Mustang. These are awesome vehicles. So when you drive it, you want the experience of purchasing that car to be just as good. But alas, right, over the decades, that experience has not been great. So over the last 4 or 5 years, automotive companies, dealers have really started focusing on this, right?
Okay.
But traditionally, they want you to come in, look at the vehicle, talk it over. It's a complicated process, right? It takes, you've got to, make sure all the pieces come together. So I've been focusing on this problem for the last 6 years, since 2015 for Ford and the Ford dealer body and Ford Direct, in stitching together a digital journey that is seamless and shortens that time from 4 to 5 to 6 hours down to, at least the goal is to get to somewhere between 30 to 1 hour, 30 minutes to an hour or so.
And I have a question here. You by saying stitching that, can you tell us because most of the people that are listening to us, there are consumers, I guess, most
Right.
of them. We don't see a back end like you see. But if you could pick up 2, 3, 4 points that are actually important in making that experience seamless, to speeding up the process and making that process, I would say, more compatible. So what that would be? Of course, I'm trying to figure out a little bit what kind of a role the technology plays in
Right.
all the process.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, so think about this. You have a Toyota Camry that you've driven for 3 or 4 years. You're ready to upgrade from it, right? Move to an F-150, since I'm talking about Ford here, right?
Yes.
So you're ready to upgrade. You say, great, Mr. Dealership down the street, I want to come in. What happens? Before you can even land on that specific vehicle on the dealer's lot, you got to search for that vehicle, find exactly what you want.
Oh, yes.
Right? So today you go on third-party sites like cars.com and KBB and all these aggregators, right? They have thousands of vehicles for you to choose from. Fine, check, I have that.
Right.
Now I need my trade-in, right? How much are you going to give me for my Camry? Is it $3,000? Is it $7,000? Is it $11,000? No one knows, right? And, dealers are generally great at giving you the fair price, but once in a while you got unscrupulous sales folks that sometimes, try to create a great deal for themselves. So over the years, customers have not been happy with that type of experience.
Right.
These are all separate applications, right? So when I say stitching, means as a brand new shopper, you want to go to a site like cars.com or in our case, Ford.com, or in a dealer site, go to that dealer site, find the car that you want, determine, are you going to lease? Are you going to buy using financing? Are you going to use cash, right? And then determine, are there any great deals or offers that the OEM is offering, right? You're going to get, $3,500 cash back or 0% APR or a myriad of combinations that all these OEMs have to move the vehicles and sell them, right? So which is the right combination for you? Are you a firefighter? Are you a policeman? Are there additional discounts for you? Are you a loyalty customer, right? There are all these combinations.
So you try to aggregate a lot of information, like less friction in the process. That means that
Exactly.
you want me
Absolutely.
to land on the page and get that accessible. So instead of surfing and spending hours, like buying a computer can be a painful experience, and you can't compare like buying a computer to buying a car. That's completely different experience, more advanced, more information required, including financials and stuff like this. But Ben, tell us like how you stay up to date. I mean, COVID hit, artificial intelligence came, all what you said comes before. How you make sure that you still are up to date? And I'm asking that question a little bit because I want people to learn from you. So on the one side, you need to implement. On the other side, you need to be up to date with the new things. On the
Right.
on the other side, you need to kind of make sure that something is going to work. If Ford is a huge company, you need to go through processes. It's not a startup; it's a corporation.
Absolutely.
It's a corporate governance. It's stock listed and stuff, and it's so. How you make sure you pick up new things, but on the other side, you don't go in the blind spot when you will be either too ahead of the game or you will be too late. How you make sure that that works?
So this is the beauty of product management, right? This is what gets my juices going, and I think a lot of product managers, right? When the first of all, I mean, you got to understand your market. You got to understand your customers. You got to understand who it is that you're trying to solve the problem for. Obviously, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're solving your customers' end needs. So the dealers' customers being us, right? Those of us that actually go and purchase cars. So for a huge company like Ford, right, investing in something like this is not something that you just go to one person and say, "Hey, let's invest in that," right? There's a very methodical decision made to actually get to the point of investing in this. But oftentimes, right, if you're paying attention to your market, you'll hear from your customers. You'll hear about the pain points. And I think all OEMs, they hear particularly from the dealer body, right, that when TrueCar was coming on the scene, it was a riot, right? Because they were capturing value away from the value streams of the dealer, right? Now they're taking a slice of that profit margin that actually is not really high for the dealer body, believe it or not.
Right.
So now you get somebody inserted in that mix again. When you have a company like Tesla cutting out changing the business model, right? Now you're in a situation where other OEMs and other dealer bodies have high costs associated with that. So it prompts action. It prompts these decision makers to say, how can we do this better so that we remain competitive and are able to still serve our customers? That's, some of the impetus to getting movement going in this. And certainly you get a high-level executive that says, all right, this problem is important enough for us to solve it. And you go through the long enterprise-type processes to say, all right, we're going to fund this. But over the years, if you're a developer or product managers that have been around, like late 90s, early 2000s, it was all waterfall. So you all right, we know what the problem is, so I am going to create this great 10,000-line project plan, and then we're going to design, and then we're going to develop, and then right? That doesn't work anymore. And you find that oftentimes that's a great failure. So I think, and I'm not speaking specifically anything for here, right? This is now general industry practice where you want to be more lean, you want to be more agile, you want to experiment more so that you're able to prove your solution and you're able to prove that it actually works. And then you can scale from there.
Right. Okay.
So personally,
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Answering questions personally on the matter of how do I stay informed, and how do I leverage
Yeah.
the marketing technologies, right? In our industry, just Martech, right? Great companies are coming out with a series of solutions that help marketers actually execute their jobs better. From the Adobe's of the world to even WordPress, right? If you're a small shop, you're probably going to not be investing in a huge enterprise level. At least a few years ago, probably today Adobe has a great solution for you. Like Sitecore and all of these platform providers provide you great marketing tools. Your analytical, think about Google Analytics or Omniture or now just Adobe Analytics to see what's happening. What are customers looking for on your website? What is their pain point? Are you getting surveys from them, eye perception surveys? These are great tools that inform the decision of where to invest and what problems to solve first. So I think more than anything, it's keeping in touch with your customers, knowing their pain points, and you could leverage technology to do that much more today than a decade or two ago, where it was a really expensive proposition. Today, you could go to SurveyMonkey, go to Facebook, go to even YouTube, right, and get feedback, which is invaluable. So
That's amazing. That's amazing that you're talking about feedback because quite often when I talk to entrepreneurs and people that are outside of the large companies world, they think that large companies, well, at least they buy like all these expensive reports, but that's what they say. That's all they do about getting feedback. But you're saying it's kind of different because saying about Facebook, YouTube, even tools like Sitecore and things like that, the frontline technologies, you get massive feedback about products, but not also a feedback, but you get massive data about how customers are flowing through your customer journey.
Exactly.
What they do, what they don't do, where they drop the basket, or where is the churn being created. So it seems like you represent a large world, large companies world. So it seems like those technologies are there and you guys use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an enterprise, I would be surprised whether it's even our competitors would use it. It is a crime not to use these tools, right? If you have the ability to see and learn about what actually matters to your customers, you have to use it, right? You've got to make intelligent decisions based on the data. And going back to your first questions about personalization and artificial intelligence, it's getting access to that data. If you don't have that data, then your ability to segment, the ability to feed your machine learning engines is non-existent, right? So you've got to feed these great technologies with a lot of data. And thank God we're in an age where data is just everywhere. First-person data, third-person data, transactional data, it's everywhere. The challenge then is for us to actually draw insight from that so that we're able to make proper decisions and serve our customers.
Okay, that's perfect. Ben, before I ask you a next question, let me quickly fix my power plug since my computer let me see that my battery is low, but I do it in a minute.
No problem.
So
Go for it.
Absolutely. Give me a sec.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, I'm back. All right. So speaking about artificial intelligence, which is my field,
Right.
do you see a future that the process of buying a car to some kind of extent can be automatic? I mean, no people there, no only robots. Robots meaning not like physical robots, but like
Right.
chatbots or other stuff. Do you think it will come one day? Or I personally, maybe my opinion, I personally don't think so, because there is a trust in the process. I mean, we need to think also about that the car can be a $30,000, but can be also $100,000. So I'm speaking of about general experience. But do you see that future of 100% automated process that is also intelligent, that can read a lot of data about me, so adjust the product on the fly? I'm kind of a little bit futuristic here, but in fact, I'm asking about what we need to do today, like like looking for financials or information, or preparing your credit score, or scrolling or looking for that. Can that be too automated? So I basically say, hey, I'm going to buy the car, and now I just get, somebody grab my hand, meaning a robot or algorithm, and just navigate me through the process.
I think the answer, depending on the time frame, is yes and no, right? I think in 2050, what you just described will be absolutely possible, right? And definitely for those super well-endowed folks financially that are able to interact with really advanced machines that can say, all right, it's time for you to upgrade your vehicle, and you get a virtual assistant that just makes that decision for you, right? That is 2050. Fast forward to 2030, no, right?
Okay.
I think there are a lot of the steps in the customer journey that can be enhanced and made easier, and shorten the duration, and we're seeing that already, right? So let's take this hypothetical example. If we know, or a person is a lessee, right? Every 2 years on the dot, he goes and leases that Lincoln Navigator every 2 years on the dot, right? I can see a world in the next 5 to 7 years that they say, all right, let's do that. And I think actually for some of the newer business models out there, like subscription based, right? It's actually happening somewhat. I wouldn't quite say it's that advanced, but you can set up your subscription so that you get a new car every 3 months or every month, right? Yes. So they get it delivered to you. Now, all of these subscription type models are still in experimentation phase. There's small, entrepreneurs going after that, but it's actually not turned out to be something that is scalable and sustainable. So a few of the startups that started back in like 2016, 2017 to do like subscription-based model have folded, or at least have revamped themselves. Now, fast forward to the future also, there's these conversations about, well, we'll have autonomous vehicles that will, call or hail like Uber to just come and pick us up, and there'll be no need for individuals to buy cars. So if that, version of the future comes to real life, then yes, right? So the virtual assistant, your Google and your Alexas of the world will be able to, somewhat kind of, plan your needs, right? It looks great. Alexa has heard me talk, and now it's talking. Sorry about the background noise.
Sure.
If you need an off-road vehicle for next month because you're going off-roading, order that. Great. But I think those are hypotheticals, and they're not practical for the general audience, at least in the three to 4 years out.
Okay.
In today's world, where I see artificial intelligence, and maybe specifically machine learning, is around the area of dynamic segmentation, right? So today, when you segment your market, you do this rules-based process of identifying, all right, 35-year-old female, works in the marketing industry, and yada yada yada, and you create a segment for that type of persona, right? I think we're getting to a point where we should be able to see, I think over the next 2 or 3 years, intelligent machine learning engines that would be able to create dynamic audiences and be able to then work with other tools to kind of target them, bring them into the shopping funnel, and kind of guide them through the experience, right? If you go to, and this is more prevalent on dealer websites, right? Pick up any dealer, Toyota, GM, Ford, Chrysler, you name it, right? Go to the local tier 3 dealer. Done right, there's always a chatbot now sitting there, ready to engage with you, right? And some of them are so smart that they can, get your information, find out your credit score, determine your financing levels, and so forth. So they're here, they're serving the market already. I mean, North American customers, I don't know about in Europe, but just go to any dealership that's large and well endowed, right? They would have these tools on their websites, and you can interact with them. Natural language usage. Today, you call the dealership. They may not pick it up, but your entire conversation, if it's picked up, could be recorded, is recorded, and then machine interprets that, determines the type of car that you want, the color that you want, the target pricing, etc. And then this allows the dealership then to be able to get back to you and profile you and accelerate the next process instead of a dealer's, oh, what did this customer want? Let me call them again and have that conversation, right? So these are artificial intelligence, machine learning tools that are available today in the automotive industry, and it's actually being displayed.
That's great examples because, as I said, I like. Artificial intelligence is something I personally believe will be everywhere, and I think it's already in many places that we sometimes don't even notice. And those examples you shared bring that business applications reality. My next questions was I was going to ask you about the product management because definitely everything is getting more complex. I don't want to say complicated because in a professional's world you know which things to pull, which things to leave, but product management. But I will skip my question and I will pass one of my questions from the audience. So the question is skills. I mean, but very specific on as much as a specific level you can say what is important for product managers to learn now, which can not even help them to maintain the current level of their proficiency, but like get ahead of the game. That would be a question. What could you suggest?
Right. So, what is the essence of a product manager? Right. What is the biggest value that they help any organization? They help identify opportunities to drive value for the end customers and ultimately, right? And this is often not emphasized. You go to any product management training and they say it's customer, 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 customer. What's not, behind that statement is also returning business value back to the organization, because at the end of the day, unless you're working in nonprofit organizations or churches where there's not expected return on investment, at the end of the day, the business needs to recover some value back, right? So I think that's the number one thing you got to keep in your mind. Now, if you're starting off, you're a junior product manager, 1 or 2 years in the field, or even are not yet in this space. Say you're a business analyst, or you're a programmer, or you're a marketer, or a UX person. I can only speak from a digital and software type products, because that's been majority of my experience is in this space, is having this hard skills to actually know how to talk to all of your constituents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to talk to your developers? Do you know how to talk to your UI,
so communication. UX? So communication, being able.
Absolutely.
But also by maybe I will ask kind of supportive question by recovering the value which you described perfectly. I guess a product managers, what you're saying is they need to also understand financials, right? Because
absolutely,
you invest in a product. Let's say it's a website. Even if it's a simple website, you invest in that. Then you drive traffic. Then you market it. Then you invest in your funnel, whatever pipeline, whatever you call that. And at the end, you got a $1,000 or $100,000 investment. So product managers needs to understand that. So they have to. What are you saying? They have to be able to understand the P&L, understand the recovery, like a margin, how we influence that, what we can do to lower the cost or cut the cost where it's not efficient. Because I think that even if you grab the book about product management, there's a lot of about building product roadmap. There's a lot of about experimentation, prototyping, co-creation, building something with customers, advocating, evangelizing. But some of the books, I don't, of course, there's a lot of books about product management. I might be wrong, but many of them don't even mention financial part of it. But I'm not saying like a CFO, but more like that part, like the financial that are essential for managing the product, managing the.
Can you calculate on the paper napkin, back of the envelope calculations? Understand your cost, understand your margins, right? Those basic type of things, right? Will it help for you to be an accountant? Probably. I think when you start doing really complicated pricing schemes and are looking at highly variable type products and businesses, then you probably want to brush up on those, right? Because you don't want to make a mistake, go out to market, and the thing is an economic disaster for your company. So I think that's a crucial part of it. But yeah, I mean, if you go to blogs today, books, there's a lot of emphasis put on the tactics of product management, right? Strategy, roadmaps, and if you're in the lean world, right, how to maybe experiment and so forth. What I think is sometimes maybe secondary is understanding the business model that allows your product to actually be successful. I read somewhere, and I'm forgetting I'm forgetting the author that said this. Your product is not the product. Your product is the business model.
So this is what you actually mentioned, and I had on my mind, but now I'll get back to you when I ask you about the fully automated process. You mentioned like when you call your Tesla and will come, or other car automatically, or you have a car which is renewed every 3 months. But in fact, that's the business model that drives that.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what we're talking about now. So product managers, if you listen to us, study business models. I think I can say it like a kind of like with the a little bit like hiring my voice, because if you understand business model, then you can actually make a substantial change in a business, even if your roadmap stay the same, or even if your features are on the same place. Because theoretically speaking, if you have a navigator, that's the same product, but the way that you can finance that differently creates completely different experience, right? Because you can have a new car every couple months, experience a new features, learning new equipment, but that's the change only, I put in a quote, because changing business model is not a piece of cake, it's a lot of effort, but that's the change which is driven by the business model, not by the product itself. Although sometimes you need to, of course, reshape or redesign the product. But
Absolutely.
so the lesson learned from Ben is study business models, not only focus on product roadmap. Ben, I have one more question before we've done, because it's already 50 minutes and I know you're busy.
Wow, already?
Yeah.
I'm having fun, man.
That's great. I'm happy. I mean, I always respect time of my guests, because
Absolutely.
usually it's the middle of the day, everybody's in the work, I don't want to cross the
That's
line.
right, yeah.
But I need to ask you this question. The mistakes. What are the
Right.
mistakes of a product managers or people that are in a product management role that somehow can disqualify the process, or squeeze the product and put the product in the corner? So can you tell us you manage the team, so can you tell us about mistakes?
Mistakes, right? So maybe I'll use myself as one, right? Because that's something I learned the hard way, which is your ideas, right? You, Mr. Product Manager or Mr. Product Manager wannabe, your ideas, they're just ideas, right? Do not act on them as if that's the product. Go to your customers, talk to them, understand their needs, their pain points, and then try to solve that. Experiment, confirm that that's actually something worth going after. It's great for me to say, you know what, I'm going to build a 5-wheel vehicle, and I think that's the coolest thing ever. And if I'm well endowed, drop $10 billion to sell that, to build that product. But if I haven't validated that and confirmed that consumers actually want that, that's waste. That's wasting a lot of resources and time more than anything, right? You're not getting that back. So I heard this again, and I'm like one of those people that are bad at remembering names, but I heard this on a podcast, so I'll quote it. And if I find the podcast, I'll send it your way, because I think it's worth making sure that people actually hear this. The gentleman said something to this effect, and it stuck with me over the years, which is, if you're a product manager and you have 5 to 7 or 8 or maybe 10 data points, and you make decisions off of that, you've lost the right to be a product manager. That is such a powerful statement. Okay. You need a lot of data or sufficient data, statistically significant data, to then make a decision and move forward on it. Your opinions don't count. The opinion of your CEOs don't count. The opinion of your team don't count if it's not grounded in customer data.
It's amazing, because the reason I'm smiling is because your language, the terms you use, the advice you give comes from. I mean, not comes from. I don't want to say comes from. Are typical for the startups world, because in a startup environment they say, hey, 90% of startups die because they either launch or build products nobody wants, and the reason behind it is because that was the ideas of founders, not even crushed with the market at the prototype stage. So they believe that something it's cool, and then they start raising money for it, and then they start to break the glass. It didn't work, and they shut down the business, and then that's it. So, but you represent the large world of big enterprise, which, as you are a living proof, are infamously judged that they don't listen to anybody. They push product to the market, and then the end they can pour like billions in the marketing, and eventually nobody has a chance, because the Ford, Toyota, whatever it is, will be always on top. And if you want to buy like something from the niche, you need to really spend time on that and looking, which you eventually forget about it and you go to the big guys. But what you are saying is actually close to customers. Your idea, it's not a kit you rise. You wanna check that. You wanna break your assumptions. You wanna test with the market before you invest $1, right? So it's not like you you start talking to customers when you fail on the $100 million project. You give that advice to people to do it right here, right now, and at the idea stage. So
Right.
there is a, you probably have heard that because you read a lot, you listen to a lot business stuff, but there is this get out of the office, right?
Absolutely.
Which you are just
Be
trying.
blank.
Yes, get out and go and verify if that still matters, because that you or maybe your team or your company may be only one place that it matters to somebody, but outside that world, nobody actually matters. So that's a great advice. I have one question more, if you allow me to ask that,
Sure.
and use last 6 minutes of our call. What type of career trajectory can you expect when you start off being a product manager? So that would be a question.
I think, because of the role itself, right? It cuts horizontally across the entire company and across the entire life cycle of a product. I think long term, if you're, and this is probably more from a career growth perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an ambition type person and are able to demonstrate that you're a great product manager, you're able to drive products successfully, deliver them, and are able to interact with all the various departments and people that bring the product to life, right? You as a person, actually, as a product manager, you've got no authority, right? If you're just a product manager by yourself, you got no direct reports. You probably don't have revenue or P&L control, right? You're dependent on HR, marketing, IT, sales, support, operations, and all these entities. But if you work with them long enough, I think your career growth is heading towards being VPs of product management, or even more ambitious CEOs, right? Because you have developed a very good understanding of the business. You understand the business model. You understand the cost factors. You understand the market. You understand your customers and how to derive value. And you're a consummate diplomat, because you're telling people, yes, we'll deliver this, but in 6 months, in a year, or no, making that tough call that great idea, but it's not going to return value. So as a junior product manager, as you grow into become a senior or a seasoned and eventually a leader, you're rising up within the organization and making huge impacts on the company as a whole. Not that any one department doesn't, right? If you remove engineering, you have no company, because especially if you're delivering digital products, right? Or whatever it is that you build. So, but I think this ability to cut horizontally across the entire company and drive products through the entire life cycle is crucial to building leaders in the organization, and then being, captains of their organization. So for ambitious folks, I think there's no limit except, to the top of being a CEO or even board members, for that matter.
My final comment would be that I read somewhere, I think that was a McKinsey report or some of these big famous consulting companies paper. They called product managers the CEOs of the product, which I like that, because CEO is kind of 360. You can't say that, oh, this part is not mine because that's the developer thing, or this doesn't work because our hosting agent, we need to change them. You can't say that. I know it takes time to grow as a person, as a professionalist, to be a CEO, but that's kind of like your North Star. And they mentioned that. But actually, you said that very well. I think that you have to step in. We were talking about you have to step in financials, P&L. Even if you don't control that, you need to understand.
Absolutely.
You need to knock the CEO of the company door and say, hey, this is something I have a problem with, and what's your opinion, meaning communication. So that's kind of like things you're saying are on the top. So to everybody who's listening to that, and guys, I especially that guests like Ben are here also because product management it's becoming more and more important, essential. There's so many products, companies compete with products, great products, and all of them are digital. The cars, even the beds, everything what we use is eventually will have that digital component. Ben, I don't know how to say thank you so much. I know you're so busy. You work for a great brand. You have a great experience, and thank you for being with us today, sharing this, giving that advice. I appreciate your time so much, and I want to wish you all what you want to build. Let's get that, have market fit, fire off, get traction, and thank you once again for being here with us.
Not at all, man. Thank you very much. This was great. Amazing that we've blown through the time allotted, but this was a great conversation. And once I make my way down to Dallas, we got to catch up and have some great conversations.
Yes,
but really appreciate the opportunity to be on your platform and to talk to your guests. Great show.
Thank you very much, Ben. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend. It's Friday, so enjoy your weekend.
Yes. Are you a father? Are you a father?
Yes.
Well, happy Father's Day coming right up.
Are you a father?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so happy Father's Day. We're going to celebrate today.
All right, my friend.
Take care. Thank you, Ben. Bye-bye.
Thank you much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.